Hello, a pickups video. Um, Great start. um, I feel way out of touch. It's been about 2 months, but I'm back with my all in my 720p glory. I'm determined it'll come back eventually. Like if they can, if VHS and audio tapes can make a comeback, 720p. Would as well. So I'm basically like a stop clock. I'm right twice, at least. I don't know. What am I talking about? Yeah, pickups video. Ooh, bit glowy. Fuck it. Yeah, right. I don't know about anyone else, but I get really irritated by those video. I say really irritated, proportionally, of course. You know, proportionally irritated by those videos with titles that say something like amazing finds or brilliant retro at car boot sales, stuff like that. And then you click on them and it's just some bloke who's always there who's selling them at eBay values. It's just not quite the same. And it's always sort of disappointing when those videos don't deliver what they promise. And I try to make my video titles accurate. And so if I haven't got anything worth showing, the video title would be something really mundane, or even play it down. I don't know. And so I'm really hyper aware of that. So that's usually why it takes me ages, at the moment at least, it takes me ages to make a pickups video, because I haven't always got much to show, like good stuff. I want to have at least a few decent, half decent things, if not really brilliant, but interesting to talk about. And it's taken me a while to get something worthwhile, move my mic, to talk about. And I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, but in that time, it has sort of built up in like amounts. So what I'm going to have to do, I think, I'm going to have to split this down the middle. I'm going to separate it out into two videos. One is stuff I've sort of found in the wild that's, like random stuff that I didn't know. You just find. Other things will be things I knew I was getting. Some in the wild, but mostly like eBay, online purchases, that sort of thing. But this stuff is all stuff that I just sort of happened upon, saw in shops and things. So yeah, but looking at the pile, it still might be a really long one, because if I've whacked it all into one video, it'd be like 2 hours long, and that'd be mental. That could be a thing. That could be a thing. I could try and break my record, 2 hours. But no fucker would watch. But the theme of this is sort of like, I have actually got some quite good stuff, but it's sort of tinged with sort of disappointment and regret slightly. It's good stuff. I think it's good stuff. Particularly for finding the wild, but it's sort of there with caveats. I can't get too cocky. I've got a habit of getting too cocky, and some of this stuff I got cocky with in it, and I got taken down a peg. So enough of the wittering. I think I'll save there's one really brilliant thing that is just unequivocally the best thing ever anyone's ever bought in a charity shop ever. Although don't get your hopes up. For me it is having had a sort of a slight beef with people who have clickbait titles. If you want to see what it is, fast forward right to the end. Anyway, but don't get your hopes up. But I just bought it because it's funny. Anyway, right. This is mostly games, but there's a few. Let's just chop and change a few things. Chop and change. I've got it all in order. Like I said, a lot of this is it looks sort of underwhelming, but like Anyway, I'll get to it. Right, first thing, it's not game related. Well, it could be potentially. It's basically me wildly overestimating my skill set. This isn't in my skill set at all, but it's something that I would have loved as a kid. But now is totally redundant, particularly because, like I said, my very, very limited skill set when it comes to this sort of thing. But I saw it in a charity shop, and it was the first charity shop I went in. I think one of the first ones. On this particular day, one of my urban hikes. I'm still doing that, and it was £2. I thought, well, that's coming home with me, because it's something that, you know, it'd be an ambition to actually make not unredundant, not redundant, but what it is. I would have loved one of these as a kid. For £2, a Casio, Casio, portable telly. I would have loved one. It's tiny. I looked at it and it just looks sort of almost like it's untouched. But the ambition would be to somehow mod it if I had the skill set. I don't. I know, because I see people who do that sort of thing, and it blows my mind. You know, just sort of somehow get something worthwhile, turn it into like a little game monitor or something. I'd love that. I love that idea, but I wish I could do it, but I can't. But the fact I've got it, maybe one day I might be able to do it. I'm not gonna, because I'll never get round to learning soldering. It requires soldering. That's what it requires. But soldering and other stuff, and knowing what you're doing. But yeah, and maybe turn it into sort of somehow hook it up so you can get like a digital signal out of it or something like that. But at the moment, it's obsolete because it's, you know, it's analog. But it's only £2, and if not, I can sell it. Right, yeah. What next? I'm gonna do this next. Everybody knows, you know, good stuff. Keep an eye out for nerdy board games. And this is just a nerdy board game. I forgot how much it was. How much it was? £2. £2. A nerdy board game. It's a relatively common one. It's not worth much, but CEX do take it, and I could probably triple my money with it. I don't know, but it's Carcassonne. I have no idea what this game entails, but it's, I don't know, about sort of knights and stuff and trade. I think Carcassonne. And you get lots of expansions and things, but yeah. And it was in a charity shop, and I had a feeling CEX took it, and turned out they did, and it was sort of like in a sort of a good condition one, which this probably would be if it's complete. I haven't checked it. I haven't checked it, so it might be totally again redundant. Should get about £6, maybe a bit more. Don't know, but they sell it for, you know, something like £15, 12. Don't know. Anyway. That's that. I'm quite looking forward to showing you the stuff at the end, because it all has its own little story. 3 films. The first one was in a charity shop. I went in, and there's nothing. It's not mind blowing. I just thought it's funny. A lot of the stuff I watch because I think it's funny, and I looked at it and I thought I would quite like that. But it's embarrassing to buy because the charity shop was populated with old ladies, and I feel like I was judged when I bought it by the old lady who was at the till. And it's just, although the details suggest that it's not quite as smutty as it looks. There you go, smutty. It's called Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, and it's got Adrienne Barbeau, who's in Escape from New York, and not Smokey and the Bandit, the other one, Cannibal Run. She drives a Lamborghini in Cannibal Run, when those cat suits with it. Farrah Fawcett, I don't know, is it Farrah Fawcett? They were cat suits. Anyway, yeah, I felt judged, but I really wanted to get it, and it does say on the back, an excellent film with a really great script, a funny, entertaining movie by Mark Commode. Mark Commode said that. So I should have showed it to the old lady. Go look, old lady. Mark Commode likes it, and it's a 12, so it's not as smutty as it looks. This was a no-brainer. This was a film I didn't really know much about, but it was something that I'd read about years ago, put it on a list, and remembered, and sort of been maybe intending to buy it if I ever saw it. And it turned up, a Blu-ray turned up in a charity shop. Turns out this Blu-ray's just worth a lot. It's like, I don't know, 20, 30 quid, and I could get like 15 quid credit for it. But I think it was £1. Was it? £1.99, I think. Yeah, £1.99 in a Red Cross bookshop. It's a film called Possession, and that's probably as smutty, smuttier than Avocado, the Cannibal Women. Shall I do that? I don't want to get demonetised. Not that I take money for these videos, or whatever the equivalent of not taking money is. Banned, probably get banned. I'd have to tick the little box to say, you know, for 18 and above. As it is, I tick the box that says it's not for children. You know, 'cause I'm honest. Sometimes I do a few swears or whatever, talking about smutty things. But yeah, look this up. Look at the trailer. It looks fucking nuts. It's meant to be really good because that's why I would have put it on my film list and forgotten about it. But I must have read something at the time which made it sound really good. It's by a Polish guy, I think, Andrzej Zulawski, and yeah, it's weird. It's about this couple, and the wife somehow becomes enthralled by some sort of weird thing that lives at the bottom of their apartment block in the cellar, and it's like manipulating her mind. This weird, like, I don't know, monster. It's meant to be really good, and it's a bit of a bargain. This is the best bargain that I got in a charity shop. And this last film, this was a no-brainer. I wanted one of these for years. I tweeted about this because I was so chuffed. But then, I won't trade it in. But it turns out that CX will give me some good money for it. But I'm not going to trade it. I'm going to keep it. And it's wanted one of these for years. These used to be all over HMV everywhere. I could see them piled up. I think I would have liked one of them, but at the time, they were quite expensive, I think. It's not totally complete, but I think it's got all the most important bits. This was in it's really rough. It's a North London hospice. It's always patronised by sort of like really rough types, and it's basically like a scrum when you go in there. They've got tubs of their DVDs. They're basically giving them away. Tubs of DVDs, and they're £3 for £1. And there's like just loads of them. These big tubs, or in America they call them bins, I think. Loads of them. And you always get these people who go in there and like they basically like flick through them. And I went in there once, and there was one bloke standing there, and I just sort of I stood next to him, and he got really sort of like territorial. And while I was stood there, he made a grab for loads of stuff. And basically hoarded it like this and looked it all up on his phone. So it's that sort of situation. But on this occasion, this is something one of them missed, and it was I've got a couple of games with it. I'll show you them first because they're probably the least interesting. I picked out this. This was the 33p. It used to be relatively collectible. The Fable of the Lost Chapters, but it's not anymore. No, I could probably get my money back if I trade it in, or even make a loss today. And this one's to keep. I think it was a 360 launch title. It's just one that I think it's one of those ones that people talk about. Say it's not that bad. It's pretty good. Even it probably looks a bit dated now. I don't know, but it's a Crackdown. It's just 33p, and it was with Fable and this thing. The main thing, so I'll just tap the mic, sorry. The main thing, this beauty, look at this. It's the Book of the Dead from The Evil Dead. Is it Necronomicon? Is that what it's called? I can't remember. It should have a sleeve over the top. That's the only thing it's missing. I love the ear. Look at that. It's brilliant. And it's sort of spongy. It's all rubbery and spongy underneath. And it's got all its bits. So look at it. How brilliant is that? It's awful. It's an awful thing, but brilliant at the same time. It's even got like tissue paper, and all these sort of like booklets and things. But I just sort of saw it there, and my hand went straight to it. And I thought, oh, I've always wanted one of these. So yeah, that's the best of my film purchases. Right, you get from now on, it gets a bit sort of turned down the sort of the impressiveness notch a bit, but then it builds up towards the end with a caveat. This one's personally, actually, well, I could double my money with credit in this. It's 50p. It's Puzzler World. Don't judge me, but I'm getting on now, and one of the when it comes to getting old, you know, your tastes change. Something I've gotten into in the last, I don't know, 5 years maybe. I can't do crosswords. I struggle with Sudokus. I can't do hard Sudokus. I can do sort of medium or easy ones, but a hard one will take me sort of days. But I do these things called code words, which look like crosswords, but are 10 times it. They're basically crosswords for dimwits, and Sugurus are like Sudoku for dimwits, and I find them sort of calming, because they get both of them. They get easier and easier and easier. If you start them, and they're difficult to start, then you start filling in the gaps, and they just get easier. And I'm hoping there's some in here. I can't remember. Does it say they've got them? It's got code words, but I don't think it's got Sugurus. It's got word searches. But yeah, this is the last one of these released, I think. So yeah, 2013. Bargain. This is, you know, I don't think I've ever talked about my love of puzzling. Now I have. Don't judge me. £1.95. Just a randomly sitting on a charity shop shelf. Yeah. You can never have too many of these. And I like buying them and looking at what other people have been playing. I did a video about it years ago. Something like a portrait of an unknown gamer or something. And this person had some decent games on it. I think they had Final Fantasy X-2. They had Bujingai, Swordmaster. I think it's Bujingai Swordmaster. It's definitely Bujingai on the PS2. So that's quite impressive. But other stuff. And I always like to see what names they call themselves. I've forgotten what it was. It was something like Fart Pants or something like that, you know. And I can't take the piss. I can't criticise. That's it. I can't criticise because, as I said last time, I created a whole league of teams on Super Kickoff on the SNES, based around ladies with big boobs. And I was about 17. I wasn't even that young. So yeah, I never told anyone until now. I don't think I ever showed it to anyone. It was basically just for me to live out my fantasies. So yeah, £2. These next two games, randomly in charity. It's one random charity shop. It's on one of my routes, and they always have a small selection of music, DVDs, and games. Not always games, but it's really regular. Their stock turns around really quickly. Sometimes you go in there, there's nothing. Sometimes there's a good selection of stuff, and it always punches up above its weight. And this stuff's not brilliant, but it's not run of the mill. And turns out the doddery old bloke behind the counter charged me a lot less than he should have done. It's just it's a bit Xbox heavy, this next selection, as you'll see. This one I bought, maybe with the idea of keeping, but it hasn't got. Excuse me, I'm going to have a drink. It hasn't got a manual, but otherwise I would have kept it. I might still keep it if I can get hold of a manual. It's Blood Omen 2 on the Xbox. Should have been 175 for games. That's what they were charging at the time. And the other one, Command and Conquer, what is it? Tiberian Wars. One of these, I think it's the other one. I think it's the early one. The red one would be good for credit, but this one's not so much. Maybe it's less. But again, should have been 175. And RTS. RTSs, I've mentioned a few times in the past, RTSs are games that I would love to be good at, but they're just, they stress me out. I can't get them. I need to be given time to be able to think, and they just don't do that. So one day I might really knuckle down. I'm not gonna, but maybe one day I might. And finally learn how to play RTSs, because they look exactly like my sort of game if I could just learn them. I've learned other games in the past. Like, I remember when I first played XCOM, it just sort of really intimidated me. But I know how to play it now, and hopefully, the XCOM gives you time. This doesn't give you time, but this is a keeper. Well, both are. They probably both will be. And they should have been 175. So what's that? 350 each. But on DVDs, they had 2 for £1, and I think he mistook them for DVDs and just charged me £1. And I thought about saying no, that they should have been 350, but I bottled it. I didn't question it. I just sort of let him charge me £1, and paid my penance later on with some of this stuff, because I got my comeuppance. This one, this is a random purchase. It was £2. I've seen it since for about 19p. It's a game. It's a 360 game that everyone says is good. It's basically that Prince of Persia. It's just, it doesn't have a subtitle, does it? Prince of Persia. People always say this is good, and I've wanted to give it a go. This, like I said, it's £2. It's probably about that, a bit more in Computer Exchange. Maybe the one thing about this is that it's a different cover. There's a different cover. This isn't the normal cover. This is the less common cover, apparently. There's 2 of them, and this was just the less common one. I don't know why there's 2 covers, but there is. And this is the less common of the 2. And at one time, it was £25 in Computer Exchange. I'm guessing this is from a long time ago. I like how they used to put the names of who sold them on the... No, I can't see it. They used to put the names of who brought them in on, they were like, Steve or Liz or Barry on the label, wasn't it? So yeah, that's how. If there's anyone you got the hots for in a Computer Exchange, look at the labels and you can find out their names. That's a bit stalky. Forget I said that. This, I can't remember where this was. It was a cancer research. This is the one thing where I've sort of overpaid. It's a duplicate, sort of. Yeah, it is a duplicate. Star Ocean: The Last Hope. £2 in a charity shop. I just felt obliged to buy it because it was an RPG. But I've got the sort of special version, the one that opens up like a not Tetra Pak. What do you call them? The one, it's like a cardboard box. And things. I bought this with the idea of using it to trade in, because on one occasion when Game were getting rid of all their 360, 3DS, PS3 stuff, I passed up a copy of this for about 50p or something. And turns out at the time it should have been about £5 credit. And I'm going on those standards, and bearing in mind this is probably, I don't know, however many years ago. When did Game get rid of all that stuff? I can't remember. We're talking 4 or 5 years ago? Don't know. So I didn't adjust for inflation, and I should have done. And so basically, I'll get about £1.10 credit for this, something like that. I might just keep it because I haven't actually got this version. It's a bit stupid. I don't know. I'm not massively into duplicates, but anyway, yeah, this is the first boob. I'm gonna title this video "Boobs, Turkeys, and Lemons." Is it something like that? Yeah. But another charity. I can't remember where this was. This was about. I've taken the label off. I'm not sure it even ever had a label, but this would have been at £1.50. Where the hell did this come from? This is the trader. It's only keeper. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I always think this is the first game, but it's not. That's Philosopher's Stone, isn't it? This is the other one. This is still, has some worth when it comes to credit, but nowhere near as much as that. That's about a £40 game. This is about a £8 game, I think. But I think I could triple my credit, whatever I paid for it. I can't remember what it is, but so I've got a feeling. Oh, hang on. Got a receipt. North London Hospice, Muswell Hill. Does it ring a bell? No, it doesn't. I paid £1 for it though. So actually, no, I do remember it now. Yeah, I do remember it. Yeah. So I've paid £1 for it. I think I'll probably get about 3 or 4, or 2, or 1. Get my money back. Don't know. Can't remember. But yeah, trade wise, yeah, gets a bit more Xbox. It's weird how this happens. It seems to come in waves. It's odd. Don't get it. Xbox, I got a little batch. This was a random one on its own. Again, I think this is probably £1 or something. Unless this one also has a receipt. No, I don't think it does. But this is not a game that I've got, so this is a keeper. This would have been probably, Dead or Alive 3. It's funny. I'm not surprised that you don't really. Do you still get Dead or Alive? I don't think you do. But I'm not really surprised that you don't get them anymore. Purely because their selling point originally were tits, bouncy tits. And, things change. There's only so much. What's the word? You can get out of boobs. Unless the whole selling point is making more and more and more realistic boobs. But then, if we're honest, they're not, are they? They're sort of an idealised version of a boob, aren't they? But the game's meant to be good, but I think that's just bizarre. The original selling point was like, wow, look at how those boobs bounce. I'm not surprised they made the volleyball games. It's just different ways to show, different contexts to show bouncing boobs. But yeah, I think it's probably been about £1 or £2. I can't remember. It's a keeper. But I think because it's sort of. I thought it was just my irritating neighbour. We had words, by the way. I don't really want to go into it because I don't want to jinx things. But at one point he was having a particularly vigorous session on the drums, and I fucking lost it. I think I went round there and I think I intimidated him. He looked surprised, which blows my mind. He looked surprised. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to jinx anything. But I thought that was him. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, I think £1 or £2. I think that's the thing. My point being is that the bouncy boob things probably overshadows the game underneath. People remember it for that. That's the selling point. But it makes you forget whether or not the game itself was actually any good. Because I think the original one was actually a solid fighter, not up to the standards of the Tekkens, but solid. Yeah. Going on with the theme of the cannibal women in the avocado jungle of death. Something not slightly reluctant to buy because I don't want to be judged by the old ladies in the charity shop. A couple of Xbox games. The second one is definitely one that I wanted to keep because I'd had my eye on it. This one, never really been on my radar, not something that I'd ever really considered getting. But on this occasion, it was £1 in the charity shop. I thought, why the hell not? And it's a Leisure Suit Larry. Leisure Suit Larry Uncut. yeah. Never. I could sort of understand the appeal of these sort of in the Amiga days, but I don't know. It's a bit of a novelty. I mean, like, look at that. Magna cum laude, or whatever. Oh, oh. I don't think I've ever played one. I don't know. I mean, would they still be making them now? Do they still make them now? Weird. It's a it's a relic from a bygone age, isn't it? It's a novelty. Is there a game underneath it? I don't know. Or again, is it just all about boobs and carry on smuttiness? I don't know. But this one came with it. This is the one that I wanted to get, and I just bundled it with that. They're both £2, and Destroy All Humans. Yeah, I would really like the Destroy All Humans games. Like I said, I'm after number 2 now as well. So I've had my eye on them in Computer Exchange, but never been a bit reluctant to pay the sort of £5 or £6 that they cost, was hoping they'd turn up in a charity shop one day. Lo and behold, they did. Yeah. Right, this one can't. This was a new charity shop. Lots of charity shops close nowadays. This is actually one that's new. Just doesn't seem to happen that often. It's a new one, and generally they really overprice their stuff. They've got games, but they overprice it. Overprice it, and it's individual. This one, yeah, this one was only. Excuse me. This one was only a £1. I think the disc's knackered, so it might have to be a keeper. Yeah, that will be something that might be rejected, so I'd probably have to keep it. It was. I don't learn my lesson. I forget that happens every single time. It's a wee party. Yeah, one for when the nieces come round, we can have a go. I know they like it. They've got a copy. They've got a version. But the disc's knackered, so it will probably need buffing. But for £1, it's good. Good for trading. I've traded in a few of these in the past, but that one I think is a keeper. This one is, I think, a bit of a bargain, although not. It's a bit rough around the edges. It's the game was meant to be good. I've again never really had it on my radar, but I think people who play them have enjoyed them. It's Star Wars Force Unleashed 2. Again, this was not inexpensive. I don't know how much I paid for it. Hang on, it's got receipts. Let's have a look. I hope I haven't flashed my. I'm going to have to look back at. Did I? No, I've not flashed my receipts, have I? £3 I paid for these. One was £2. Oh, I've obviously bought something else at the same time. Cancer Research in Finchley. I can't remember what else I bought. I bought something at the same time that was £2 and something else that was £1. I can't remember what that was. Maybe it was one of those DVDs that I bought. I don't know. I think that's it. This was £2. I remember now. This was £2. It was one of those DVDs that I can't remember where I got it from. So yeah, this. But it's meant to only have one disc in it. But it had 2. And it had this. This is the. Again, disc's a bit rough. So I knocked the mic again, I didn't know. But it had this in it, which is only a disc, but it's the first game, but it's the the Ultimate Sith Edition, which is actually quite collectible. Look out for the Ultimate Sith Edition, but preferably complete. But I'm not going to pass up this version of it. I think it's just basically a Game of the Year edition of this game, but it's quite expensive now. But it was just sort of in the case, and so I've just sort of, I'm not going to pass it up. So yeah, that was a bit of a bargain. Right. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to show you this first. This was probably my most recent purchase in a charity shop, one of my local ones. This was just ran. They don't have games anymore. It's irritating. It's just all DVDs. Rare they have games. This was they have things like technology just dumped in along the side. Only a small place, but they do have quite a lot of technology. It's weird. But they had this just sitting on the ground or in one of these little low display things that they had. It's getting a bit gloomy, isn't it? Shit. And it's only £4.50. It's a black Wii Motion Plus, and it's sort of tethered to this aftermarket wheel. I didn't buy it straight off. I made sure I looked in the battery compartment, and there were old batteries in them, old Sony ones that are shite, so that you can get in Poundland, I think. And a bit of leakage, some rust on the connections, but I've been through it with a bit of Q-tips and rubbing alcohol, and they work. So I'm going to keep this, I think, because I've only got 2 and I would like 3. So I might get another one of these, and me and my nieces, because there's 2 of them, can play 3-player Mario Kart. Because I'd like that, because I'm a lot better than they are, and one of them's can just about hold her own, the other one's shit. So it's a guaranteed win. Sorry. Guaranteed win. Yeah. Right. Where should we go? This. I can't remember what that. Just moving some stuff out of the way. Somebody's got stories. What should I go with first? Well, yeah, these 3 on one of my treks. I think one of them is walk up. It's quite a long way. I can walk to Finchley from where I am, and in a round circuit, it ends up at about 12 miles. So it's a long way. There's one route I do. If I can be bothered, I'll extend it, because there's a couple of areas of charity shops, and there's a third one, but it's a bit further out. It's in Finchley Central. I go from North Finchley to Finchley Central, and Finchley Central doesn't often pay out. It's got a cash converters, and charity shops, about 5 or 6 charity shops. And it doesn't often pay out. Sometimes I can't be bothered to walk the extra distance. But on this occasion, I thought, fuck it, I'm going to go. Because up there was one, I'd had a run-in with an old lady once, because she'd put up a load of piles and piles of CDs, and she didn't like me touching them, because which basically is the moral of the story is, don't finger an old lady's piles. I thought of that, sorry. I wanted to say it. I thought that would be really funny. Yeah, but you should never finger an old lady's piles. So yeah, I was reluctant. I'm not sure I could be bothered to walk up there, because I had bad memories, I think. But I did anyway. So that was a redundant bit of the story, because I did anyway. And I went nothing in the charity shops, and the cash converters. It's one of those ones that individually pricey stuff, and they're often quite high. They've got a GameCube copy of Resident Evil 2 for 40 quid, just sitting on the shelf. Oh, it's getting a bit grainy. I think I'm going to have to pull the curtains a bit further up the side. Does that help and make it? Made it worse. I can see the graininess. Shit. I better. Yeah. Anyway, I went into cash converters. They usually have some good stuff. They did have good stuff, but it's too high priced. On this occasion, I had some PS3 games. Bit of a heartbreaker with the last one of these. Had some PS3 games, and they were all 50p. And it took me by surprise, but I took sort of like 3, because they were only 3 I really wanted, or the 3 having. This one's for trade. Yeah, there you go, 50p. Should probably get me like £2, I think. Game of the Year edition format 3. This one's for keeping. Don't think the discs are perfect. Ghostbusters, again, 50p. Had lots of half decent stuff, lots of standard stuff, and this one was a heartbreaker. I think this one clearly wasn't identified as being having any sort of value. It's a sports game. It's gonna have to be a keep. It might have been a trader, but for, this is the first lemon, I think. FIFA 19. Oh, look, FIFA 19. FIFA 19, and it's the last FIFA game on this PS3, and it's quite collectible. But the disc looks okay. It hasn't got a manual, has it? Yeah, it has got a manual. No, it hasn't. But anyway, this looks all right. There's a bit of a scuff. It looked fine, but having bought it and got it home, I held it up. Yeah, held it up to the light, and you can see the light through it. So obviously there's something quite deep in there. But having done a bit of research, I don't know if anybody else knows more than I do, knows for certain, but having done a bit of research, apparently top scratches aren't as chronic as they are on Blu-rays as they are for DVDs. So it's probably never be a trader. It would just be a keeper. And like I said, I do generally, as a rule, like to keep 1 or 2 sports games per console. And if I can get the last one released like this, fine, brilliant. That's like the ideal thing. But it's just a bit of a heartbreaker, the fact it had this whacking great scratching it, because to get a loose disc is it's not cheap. So right, what's next? Fuck it, I'm going to do this one. Let's get it out of the way. It's massive. Yeah. I went out a few weeks ago. I'll just sit here. Not too glowy. I went out a few weeks ago. Saw something in a charity shop window and thought, oh, I'm denied over it, but it was £10, and thought, I don't really know. It's just going to take up space. I'm not going to use it. It is funny though. Like I said, I like to buy stuff that's funny, and this is definitely funny, or at least has potential for to be funny. Basically, I don't. It's going to be grainy. It's going to be grainy, or it's going to be glowy. I have to basically make a choice. Do I want it to be grainy or glowy? It's going to be one or the other. Yeah, this was it. Right, yeah. So I was out. I saw some time in the charity shop. This thing in the charity shop was £10. In the same charity shop, they had a Wii Mini with an extra sort of Wii Motion Plus controller for £40, and another a box Wii original one for £30, which I think is pretty good. I don't think they're there anymore, so someone's bought them. I'm talking really quick. But this, I saw it. I thought, shall I get it? Shall I get it? And then passed it up. And then for the rest of the day, regretted it. Didn't find anything else the rest of the day. But on my way home, the last little section with charity shops, didn't get anything, but I did find a tenner on the ground. And I thought, oh, this just about sort of makes my day, this tenner I've just found on the ground, and put it in my pocket. But then this thing was still ticking over in my mind. I should have got it. So I'm going to go back the next day. So I went up, got up a little bit early, actually early enough for opening time, and I think, I can't remember what day it was, Sunday I think, so they were actually open, and made sure I was there for opening, and they still had it. No one had got it, because I thought it's good enough that people might have had it. But and I went in, I sort of like stood there and stared at it for 10 minutes, looked at the back, and it's from the generation, the late 90s, maybe mid-late 90s, potentially early 2000s. I can't quite work it out. There's probably a date on it. I haven't looked. And I thought about it, and then I thought, fuck it. Picked it up, took it to the counter, and before I got it, I thought, hang on, actually no. I asked the guy, I could look at it, and he got it out because it was in the window. He got it out of the window. I checked it over. It looked to be fine. Missing, instructions, which apparently, according to the blur on the box, are important. So I could always look them up, I suppose. But I thought, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to have it. Took it to the counter and remembered my tenner. I thought, brilliant, even better. I can use the tenner. So essentially, this is free. Took it to the counter and paid for it with my free tenner off the ground, and took it home. And yeah, thought brilliant. I thought this would be good for a video. I think there are ones on YouTube of this. I'll show you. Should I get it now? Fuck it. It is. It's basically. I'd looked it up. Basically, I'd looked up what it entails and how much it's worth. If the tenner was worth it, you know, just to basically sway my mind. It's what's called an interactor. And I think one of the main things that swayed me was the fact, I think it says it's got PS1, Sega, Nintendo, and I think one of those says Amiga. And you can have it with television and music. And the Amiga one swayed me, because if it's compatible with the Amiga, then it must have been a relatively early thing. I don't know. Was Amiga still around in the late 90s? Don't know. But I was just sort of picturing, could you know what Interactor is? Basically, it's a big rumble pack that you wear on your chest, and you get like force feedback, I think, or not force feedback. That's the steering wheel thing, isn't it? We get feedback like basically a rumble pack. And I was thinking, I was trying to think of all those classic Amiga games, like how they would apply to this thing. This thing. See, look, there you go. He's wearing it. And I couldn't picture it. I just thought, this is really funny. I've got to get it. And yeah, and I was thinking, how would it apply to something like Leisure Suit Larry, or maybe it's self-explanatory, or something like Samantha Fox's Strip Poker. There you go, I'll just stick my face right in the camera, you know, or Sensible Soccer, or something like, what have I played? Hudson Hawk, or Turrican, something like that, one of those classic Amiga games. I think I'm picturing someone using a mouse or like a zip stick with this strapped on. I thought, this is hilarious. But lo and behold, later that day, I thought, I'm just gonna check it over. I hadn't looked at it since. Assumed it runs on batteries. It doesn't run on batteries. It runs on a power pack, and it didn't have a power pack. So basically, it's just you know, a door stopper. There's one plug for sale on eBay. It looks like it's been sort of like repaired because it's got a different plug in it, and it's worth. They're asking £12 for it, and I'm not paying that. So basically, yeah, it's just a doorstop. But slightly disappointing. But I didn't pay anything for it. So yeah, maybe one day I'll get an opportunity to use it. But I thought it's hilarious. You know, just I can picture myself, you know, using it once and then thinking, yeah, this is sort of funny, and then never looking at it again. I'm gonna have to whisper. Oh shit! It's definitely gonna be over an hour, isn't it? Bollocks. Right. I think it was the same day, actually. To be honest, that same day, there's a shop next to my local computer exchange. It's like it sells phone covers, but they've got a good selection of games, and I don't often go in there. But I noticed they had a load of PS1 and PS2 games recently. Generally, it was all PS4 and like modern stuff. They do have a bit of older stuff, so I thought I'd go in and have a look. But in the window, they had some DS games, and this one in particular caught my mind. And I went in there one day. There you go, I'll show you. Electroplankton, the American version of Electroplankton. Went in there one day, and I'll go and ask him if I can have a look at it. And the bloke, I said, come over, go and look at it. He has to go right to the front of the shop. He takes it out the window, comes back. Before he hands it to me, he's looking something up on his phone, and he's basically looking up the CEX price. I'm thinking, oh, brilliant. And he goes to me, CEX sell it for 20, so you can have it 15. And I didn't really want to pay 15 at the moment because I didn't know if that was good or not. and it was one that I had an eye on, but was one I wanted in the collection. So I thought I'd pretended that I was sort of thinking about it, but I knew I wasn't going to go for it. But then just sort of went, yeah, mate, I'll come back, and said it and left it. And again, thought about it, and then sort of like when I came back for the Interactor, I thought I'll get this as well. And I went in there, and he'd obviously forgotten me in that time. And I said, "Can I have a look at it?" And he had to go up to the window again, take it out. And again, the same thing happened, and he was looking up on his phone, and in the end, he goes, 20 quid. I was thinking, hang on. I said to him, "You told me 15 yesterday." And he went, "No." And I said, "Yes, you did." He said, "You said to me, CEX it for 20 quid. I said, so 20 quid then?" And you went, "No, you can have 15. And he went, "Did I?" I went, "Yes, you did." I said, "I've got a good memory." And I quite like the shop, actually, because they're clearly up for a haggle. They make it easier, because I'm not a natural haggler. I don't think Brits in general are hagglers. It doesn't come to us naturally, at least compared to people from other countries. But they made it easier, and he didn't mind. And I thought, I'm even going to be cheeky, and I'm saying, "That your best price, 15, even after he'd agreed to 15. And he went, "No, I don't make much money off this." So I'll pay 15. I think 15 is about the going rate for an English version, but the American version, or basically in America, in this country, it's about 15 quid game. In America, for some reason, it's a lot more collectible. Doesn't seem particularly uncommon, but it just seems like a really nice sort of zen game. I don't know if it's got any sort of competitive element to it, but I've played a bit and watched loads of gameplay videos, and it's just really, really, really calming. Just it's got the element of the game I like, beats in music and notes in music, because that sort of thing is a bit like, it's got a similar sort of crossover to something like, it's not Res. Res has a bit of that in it, or is it the Bit Trip games? So yeah, this was 15 quid, which in America would be a bargain. In this country is about the money. So, and again, the same day, I've got this. Again, it's another cash converter. It's a local cash converter. It's small. They have some good stuff. Again, their prices can be high. They used to have two Resident Evil chainsaw controllers, like in the case, and they were 100 quid each, which I wasn't going to pay, but would like one day, but not. I don't want to pay the going rate for it. I don't want one that much, but every so often they have something that's slightly underpriced, and I think these were, because they'd got a batch of Game Boy games in. They had other things as well, actually. They had some Dreamcast games. They had Street Fighter Alpha 3 for 35 quid, which is actually quite good, I think. But yeah, they had some Game Boy games, and they'd priced them across the board $5.99, which, something they had some games it wasn't worth $5.99, but these were, and I basically picked the best one day, and I thought that's definitely worth $5.99, and it's Bomberman Quest. It basically looks like a Bomberman game, but crossed with sort of like an adventure game, sort of like a Zelda type, but it uses the Bomberman mechanic where you attack by laying bombs, and you have to kill enemies by laying bombs, but in like an open world rather than a grid. So it's actually quite a collectible game. Doesn't cost that much, probably about a tenner or something, but I thought definitely worth $6.99. I actually think it's probably more than a tenner. So $5.99 is definitely a bargain. So I have that. I didn't even look it up or anything. I just thought, I knew that was probably worth having, and I'd regret it if I didn't grab it. And this one, I was a bit less certain about. I assumed it was just a bog standard shooter, but there was something familiar about it. I think I'd seen it, somewhere, but it wasn't. I couldn't say for certain if it was worth the price. I looked it up, and it's like an adventure game. It's James Bond 007. It's not a shooter. It's sort of like an adventure game. It made it more interesting, and it's again quite collectible and definitely worth $5.99. So I went back the next day, and it's irritating this branch of cash converters is irritating beyond belief because they close at random times for an hour during the day, and I'd gone there early when I'd got electroplankton and the interactor, and I'd gone there early afterwards. I thought they're definitely going to be open, but then I got there and they said, "Oh, we're closed until 2 for stock taking." Because you can go there at 1 o'clock and they'll be closed for staff training. So for fuck's sake, so I had to basically just kill time for 2 hours. 2 hours, and you're still there. You're still there, so I was like chuffed, and I couldn't complain. Just did a bit more walking, got a bit more exercise. So yeah, last one is probably the most disappointing because it would have been most heartbreaking. It's a bit of a lemon. There's a slight upside to it. One is a cancer research. It's got a price on it. Yeah, cancer research. Lost my train of thought. Right, think. Need a drink. I'm going to beat an hour. Cancer research. It doesn't often pay out this particular branch. Went in there, didn't see anything. On my way out, they had a glass cabinet. This was in the bottom. I thought, oh, I'm going to have a look at that. I bet it's about 20 quid or something like that. I'd have to, think about it. But she took it out, gave it to me, and it was £6.50, and it's a console. I was about to say it had a game in it, which would have given the game away, so I might as well told you it was a console. It's a white Game Boy Advance. I mean, my Game Boy Color feels like it's on the way out because it's got a problem with the sound and it cuts out every so often, like when you're playing. It starts buzzing, you get static. So I did need a new one, this was really good timing. And the game in the back was basically sold it to me. It was a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team. So £6.50, no brainer. It did say, I'm not going to see that, too much glow. £6.50. It does say sold as seen. So I looked in the back and it looked fine, but lo and behold, it don't work. It doesn't work. I put batteries in and the little light blinks momentarily and then cuts out. I've looked into it and I wouldn't be surprised. I think it could be the power switch is dirty because I've looked into it. I saw there's someone else who repaired one. Basically took it all apart, took the power switch out and just needed cleaning. Cleaned it and it worked. If anybody knows properly about this, maybe you might be able to give me some insight, I don't know. But that whole process involves desoldering in it, and I don't know how to solder. I could teach myself, but I'd probably fuck this up during the learning process. So bit of a killer. Disappointing, but hey ho. I'm just going to trade that in. Trade that in. Get my money back, and maybe one day this might get used. I could probably sell it on for parts. I think definitely. Right, that's it. It's really dark now. It's not that dark outside, or it's not that late today. It's just gloomy. But I'm going to show you the last thing I got. This was basically my favourite thing that I bought last week. I went back I saw it, regretted it, not buying it. Went back the next day. I thought, why did I not get that? Why didn't I buy this the first time? Smells a bit. No more luck. Whoever had this before me has got facial herpes. I always thought these were illegal because of their sort of their associations. But I'm gonna let you go. This is definitely a thumbnail. There you go. See you later. Bye.